Is Canon now back in the video game? And actually, are they starting to lead the pack? The Canon C50. I recently rented this camera for a couple projects to test it out and to see if it was something that was worth it for me, or should I look at a different option? I am going to test out the R6 Mark III as well and put it head to head with the C50, so subscribe to see when that review comparison drops. But for now, the C50 itself at nearly $5,000, is this an FX-3 killer? Has Canon reclaimed their spot at the top of the video market? Well, for me, as somebody who's been shooting Canon, this is really exciting. I am somebody that DPs a lot of projects. Sometimes I'm using anything from a RE Alexa 35 all the way down to an FX-3, even to using my stills camera in combination for video, being the original EOS R. But slowly I'm starting to look at upgrading and ideally finding either a better video solution or a still solution that is also better for video. So is this that video solution? First, I'm going to talk about the things that I really like about this camera, some potential gripes that I may have, as well as if this camera is right for me and maybe if it is right for you. The Canon C50 sits at a price tag, at least for me as a Canadian, of about $5,000. So it's not exactly a cheap camera, but what does it have that the other generations haven't? This thing finally has a full HDMI port. I'm just going to start with that because it's exciting. You don't have to carry around that little tiny micro HDMI to full-size HDMI. You just don't need it. That's the wrong port. The real one is down here. That's just a USB-C. This is the one you want. That's the HDMI. Look at that. That is a full-size port. We love to see that. But the main thing that people are talking about when it comes to this camera is the 7K open gate. Now, you have started hearing this term be thrown around a lot more. Open gate. What is open gate? Do I need open gate? Why are the gates open? Well, open gate refers to using the full sensor size. So, I know, don't look away if I do this, but this is the full sensor. Usually, when we shoot video, you are cropping off the top and bottom at a 16:9 ratio, which means you're not getting the full utilization of the sensor. When I shoot with an RE, sometimes I use open gate being the full sensor because you get the most amount of flexibility out of it. If I shoot a video and I want to have a vertical version of it at the same time, I can, in this camera, set the lines, the frame lines, for 9:16 vertical framing. So I can frame my subject vertically, but I'm also getting a wide shot, a landscape 16:9 shot at the same time. All I have to do for each is the vertical shot. I just crop out the edges, but because of the frame lines, I have it framed up anyways, so it's proper. Then for the 16:9 shot, I'm just cropping off the little top and bottom. Plus, this shoots in Canon RAW, as well as internal 422 10-bit, as well as 420 10-bit, all internal. After using this for a full couple shoot days, you might be wondering, is this overheating? Is that problem that happened with the R5, is it still happening here? And I am pleased to say that it is not. I have been shooting 6K open gate. I was using 422 as I was shooting to the SD card, and you need a CF Express card or to shoot into an external recorder to get some of the best features out of this. But you can still shoot 6K open gate 422 10-bit into the SD card, which looks, quite frankly, phenomenal. You get S-Log, what are we, Sony? You get C-Log 2, C-Log 3, so you can have a bunch of different color profiles that make your footage as easy to grade as you want it to be. Plus, if you're using this as a camera on an indie shoot, as a documentary camera, you have time code, which is huge. So in professional sets, what we usually do is the sound recordist will be syncing the cameras with their exact time code, and then when you see the slate, the numbers that go across the middle, that digital display, is the time code, which lines up your camera with your audio. So rather than lining up to a clap, you are lining up to the exact time between the camera and the sound, so everything's synced properly. And you have this port here, which means even as a compact, borderline prosumer camera, it's something that Canon is actually taking seriously. You may not need OpenGate if you're just shooting indie films, but if you want to edit it for social, or if you want more latitude to crop in post, OpenGate will give you that. There is peaking, there are zebras. All these things are what we look for in an actual cinema camera, which is fantastic to see in this. The ergonomics of it, it's great. Even with a cage on it, I'm still able to grip it quite nicely. I do have larger hands, so Canon's form factors have always blended well to that. Not only that, but the body is actually surprisingly light. Without a lens on it, this thing is super light. Like, I'm not even gonna get tired carrying this. And it also does 4K internal 60 frames per second, which not even the FX-3 does. So you're able to get high quality slow-mo without compromising. There isn't even a crop to it either. You have all your buttons and dials that, if you're familiar with Canon cameras, you're gonna know where everything is on this. And there's also the top handle that screws on this with XLR inputs for recording audio. Actually, I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab that. So the top handle, you just pop it on, it screws on. It's not like a third-party top handle where you don't have any functionality out of it. You are getting XLR inputs for audio, and you can control the levels via the side control panel here, as well as being able to start and stop your roll, and there's still the hot shoe there. So it gives you an extra point of which to be able to hang on to the camera and give it some extra stabilization. Because if you hold this from the top and you hold it from the bottom, you're going to have a more stable image, which brings me to a lot of people's main gripe with this camera is that it doesn't have IBIS. And when compared to something like the R6 Mark III that does have IBIS, a lot of people are saying that this isn't as good because it doesn't have IBIS. My biggest thing is it doesn't need it, and I'll explain why. The R6 Mark III, in my opinion, I have to try it out, but is more of a hybrid shooting camera that isn't going to be used as much on professional sets, whether it be indie or using as a crash cam, or like a lot of times cameras of this size will rig up to like a security camera, FaceTime cam, stuff like that in sets like shows for Netflix, Hulu, you name it. We'll use cameras like this or an FX-3 for those kind of things. If you have IBIS, you're just going to have it turned off the entire time because you don't want it to negatively impact your image. If you're somebody that shoots stills professionally and you also shoot video, you're going back and forth between the two, probably the R6 Mark III is going to be better for that. But the C50 can still take insanely high quality photos at the same time. It has the photo mode, and having taken some stills with this, I can say that it does hold up. So rather than an FX-3 that has 10 megapixel photos, this actually gives you a full 30 something, I forget the exact number, I'll put it here, 30 something megapixel still that is extremely usable. So if you're on a set and you need a couple stills, you can use this as a really good stills camera, but it is definitely video first. And they have made it so it integrates well with proper sets, be it documentary, be it using as an additional angle on larger sets if it's for any of these rigs where we need a small camera. Something like this then fits in perfect, and I'm not mad that it doesn't have IBIS. For some of the work that I did with it, if I wanted a stable shot, sure, maybe going handheld with IBIS would have been handy, but I would just throw it on a gimbal and we're good to go. I'm fine doing that. I actually quite enjoy using gimbals even in this day and age. and you're not going to have the risk of any wobble with IBIS. So I can say, does this have any IBIS wobble? No, for one, it doesn't have IBIS, but from what I understand, Canon's IBIS technology is also getting better to where there's not the wobble, but I'm going to try out the R6 Mark III. Again, subscribe to YouTube when that comes out, but I'm going to try it out to see how good the IBIS is in it. But I understand why they didn't put it in this camera, because I don't think it needs it. As I have continued to use this camera, something that I have learned is that it is very battery hungry. Between the display always being on and the fans, it will chew through your batteries quite quickly. It does have a live readout of roughly how long you have left in your battery. So you usually get about 45 minutes to maybe, if you're lucky, an hour out of one battery before you have to switch. They are the newer style Canon LPE6 batteries, so they have a little higher capacity compared to the original model, but it does still chew through them quite a bit. So if it's something that you're looking at picking up, definitely grab a bunch of batteries with it. That said, you could use a dummy battery or power it off something like a V-mount or a gold mount battery if you decide to really rig out this camera, which if you are doing indie or documentary filmmaking, that might be something worth looking into. The really unique thing about this camera is you can actually film vertically and horizontally at the same time. If you're using two different card slots, you can film vertically to the one card and horizontal in the other. So if you're shooting open gate, you can get your 9x16 frame and you can get your 2:3 wider horizontal video on different cards. So you're able to have them both if you're wanting to edit both your project in a way that is vertical for social, but you also want a horizontal landscape cut of it. Is this camera right for me? And is it right for you? As a full-time hybrid still video camera, this is why I want to check out the R6 Mark III, because it might be better suited for that hybrid functionality. However, if I were to have a full compact video cinema camera that I want to be able to use for indie filmmaking, for documentaries, shoot some commercials on it, this might be the perfect thing for that. And if that's something that you're looking for, if you don't like Sony's workflow and you want to stick to the Canon ecosystem, then maybe this is worth checking out. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video and some of the sample footage shot with it. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. And remember, as always, to work hard and rest often.